There's a memory I've carried with me for over 20 years. I've turned it over in my head more times than I can count, trying to find a rational corner to tuck it into. I never found one, and the older I get, the less I think I ever will. When I was 10 years old, my family lived in a cramped row house in the city. Our home was wedged between two identical buildings, shoulder to shoulder, like three people forced to share a single seat. My bedroom was on the top floor. A narrow window faced the back, and through it, I had a direct line of sight into the house behind ours. The gap between the two buildings was maybe 15 feet at most, close enough to see clearly, close enough to feel like you were almost inside. For most of that first year, the window across from mine was always dark. The room behind it was empty as far as I could tell. An unused space, a black rectangle in the wall of someone else's home. I'd glance at it sometimes out of habit, the way your eyes drift to a blank TV screen even when you know nothing's on. Then, one afternoon in autumn, there was someone there. A girl. She looked about my age, maybe a year older. Dark hair pulled back. She was wearing a green cardigan, the kind with little buttons up the front. She stood at the glass and looked right at me. Then she raised her hand and waved. Not a frantic wave, a calm one, like she'd been expecting me. I waved back, and just like that, a friendship started. After that first day, she was there almost every afternoon, right around the time I got home from school, always at that same window, always wearing the same green cardigan. We couldn't hear each other. Neither of us ever opened our windows, so we communicated the only way we could. She'd hold up drawings she'd made, and I'd press my palms together like I was guessing. She'd give me a thumbs up or shake her head. I'd do my homework at my desk by the window, and she'd watch, reacting with exaggerated expressions when I got something wrong. It was ridiculous and small, and exactly the kind of thing that feels enormous when you're 10 years old and lonely. I asked my mom about the family next door once. She said it was an older couple, the Hendersons, no children. I told her about the girl I'd been seeing. My mom smiled and said they probably had a grandkid visiting for the season. I didn't love that explanation because it meant she might leave. But she didn't leave. Weeks passed, and she kept showing up every single afternoon. Then the night started. The first time it happened, I was deep asleep when a sound pulled me out, a soft, rhythmic knocking. I lay there for a moment thinking I'd dreamed it. Then it came again. I got up and crossed to the window. She was there, but everything was wrong. It was past midnight. The room behind her was completely dark, lit only by a faint blue light I couldn't identify. She wasn't smiling. She was pressed close to the glass, her breath fogging it. Her hands were flat against the window, fingers spread, her mouth was moving but I couldn't hear a word. I watched her lips for a long moment and felt my stomach drop. She was saying, "Help me," over and over. I stepped back. I didn't know what to do. I was 10 years old and alone in the dark, and everything about what I was seeing told me to be very, very afraid. I pulled my blanket around me and sat on my bed with my back to the window until the knocking eventually stopped. She wasn't there the next day, or the day after that. On the third night, she came back. This time, I made myself look. She was doing the same thing as before, palms flat on the glass, mouth moving, but there was something different about her now. Her cardigan, the green one she always wore. It had a dark stain spreading from the left side, wide and wet looking, like something had soaked through the fabric. My brain told me it was paint, my gut told me something else. I ran to my parents' room and shook my dad awake. I dragged him to my window and pointed. He stood there for a moment, looking out at the dark window across the gap. The light was off. The girl was gone. He put his hand on my shoulder and told me it was a nightmare. I knew it wasn't. The next morning I did something I probably shouldn't have. I went around to the back alley and found an old woman working in the garden behind the house. She looked up and gave me a kind smile. I asked her if anyone else lived there, or if they had family who visited. Her smile faded. She set down her gardening tools and walked toward me slowly. She asked me what I'd seen. I described the girl, the dark hair, the green cardigan, the window on the top floor. The woman was quiet for a long time, then she told me to go home. That evening everything changed. My parents moved my bed to the other wall. They put up heavy curtains that blocked all the light. My dad said it was for better sleep. When I asked why, neither of them would look at me directly. My mom told me the window game needed to stop. She said I was getting too old for it. I told her the girl was real, that I had seen her for months, that something was wrong with her. My mom repeated herself, same words, flat voice, end of conversation. I wasn't allowed to go near that window again. I never saw the girl after that. Not in the window, not anywhere. We moved a couple of years later. My parents never brought it up again. It took almost 8 years before my mom finally said anything. We were driving somewhere, just the two of us, and she brought it up out of nowhere. She said the old woman from the garden had called her after I spoke to her. She said the woman had lived in that house for years and had dealt with things she didn't fully understand. The family who owned the house before her had a daughter. She was 10 years old. She was killed in an accident right outside the building on a cold afternoon in November. She had been wearing a green cardigan. The family left shortly after. The woman who bought the house had sealed the top floor room years ago because of things she'd rather not talk about. My mom didn't go into more detail. I don't think she had more to give. I'm 33 now. I live in a ground floor apartment. I chose it deliberately. I've developed a particular unease around windows at night, the way a dark pane of glass becomes a mirror after sundown, the way you can never quite be sure what's standing just outside the frame, looking in. I've had dreams about her over the years, not nightmares exactly, just dreams where she's there, standing at her window. The cardigan is clean in the dreams. She doesn't knock. She doesn't mouth the words she used to mouth in the dark. But she doesn't smile at me anymore either. And somehow, that's the part that stays with me the longest after I wake up.